Welcome to Insight Plug, the podcast where independent creators and entrepreneurs connect and inspire. I'm your host, Devon Jones. Today on our show, we have an artist of many talents. His name is Nathanial House. Nathanial, welcome to the show. Glad to have you. You want to double check your audio? I didn't get that opening from you.
Yeah, audio sounds good, man.
All right, there it is.
I seen on film set, man. Hold for room tone, bro.
Perfect. Yeah, just had a double check here. I see your mouth move, but I didn't hear anything. All right, but seems like we're good. All right.
Like my ex-wife.
All right. Well, wasn't good. Okay, Nathaniel. Welcome to the show. So being that you're an artist of many talents, let's take us to the beginning. When did you become inspired by art?
Bro, I've been inspired by art long since I can remember, It's like, that's what art does. It inspires you. It doesn't matter what age you are, what the emotions you're trying to evoke. As a kid, you look at a painting or anything like that, and you're like, hey, that looks cool. But you probably don't even know why. Like, it could be whatever.
All right. So as a young age, being that you did some screenwriting, you got some short films, got some poetry, got some painting. Where did these avenues start for you? Like, what was your first stage, and then how did you grow to your next creativity?
So, probably really started for me back in middle school. One of those deals where the teacher gives you an assignment and it just, clicks. Where you're like, hey, I actually have a talent for this, or I might have a talent for that. So I just kind of took it from there, started writing short stories about whatever. I don't even remember half of them. Yeah, that's how that's all started. Then I like going to museums and stuff just to check out what the guys like Monet and Rembrandt and all those guys have done. Like, I like reading books. I like watching movies because I would just be sitting there like with my brother, for example. We'd just be sitting there watching a movie, and I'd look at him and be like, man, this movie sucks. This cinematography is awful. Or this story makes no sense. And he would look at me and be like, well, yeah, but she's hot. That just shows you the difference in the depth of how the two of us think,
Mhm. I've been there before. All right. So when did you first write your first screenplay?
Oh, that is a good question. I don't remember. I just remember it sucking so bad I threw it away.
All right. And then that experience, like,
That was probably, yeah, oh, my bad. That was probably back in high school when I actually put pen to paper for the first time in that format. Because when you realize what a script actually looks like, and you're used to reading novels, man, it is such a difference.
true, true. All right. So let's talk about some of your projects that we have here. First project we had is Family Gone. How did the concept for that project come about? And then how was the experience working on that project?
Oh, that movie came about after watching an episode of Criminal Minds. It was a pretty awesomely done episode about a phenomenon known as a family annihilator. I was like, well, I can play with that idea. And it's just about a guy that's he's already lost his mind, but the truth of the situation comes to him as he's interrogating a guy that had absolutely nothing to do with what happened to him and his wife. And it's just a fun it's just a fun ride to be like, wow, this guy is really messed up. And yeah, that came about because I was working at the Nissan plant in Smyrna, Tennessee. I was bored one night and just started writing. It only took me about 20 minutes to actually write the idea down. And then 6 years later, a dude moved to Nashville and was like, hey, I'm looking for a movie to produce. So I sent him mine because I wasn't doing anything with it. And he picked it. We had like 3 or 4 pre-production meetings, and he did the rest of it. I just sat there and wrote it. And because I was with the MTSU at the time, I was able to get all the camera gear, saved us about $10,000 worth of equipment by checking it out from the school and lying to my professor a little bit. And because the majority of the movie takes place in like this really dingy basement where the interrogation scene takes place.
Mhm.
And it was really funny. Our lead actor, his name is Louis Purcell. We used his basement.
Oh.
We didn't do a damn thing to it. We just moved stuff around so it looked good on in frame. It his basement is creepy as hell, bro. It was really funny. He was when he talked to the director about it, he's like, he read through the script. He's like, "Hey, we could use my basement." And he's like, "Oh, holy crap, we can!" Yeah, his name was Brian Stamper. Was the director? Real genius director, man. That dude is just so awesome. But our visions matched just so well on that. And that dude just put together this amazing cast and crew, and we just blew through this thing in 2 weekends to film a 10-minute movie. Oh man, but it was fun.
That's awesome. And were you guys able to get that project through film festival circuits, or like how was the distribution for that?
Yeah, that was the distribution model. He was working for a company at the time that helped fund its way through the film festival circuit. We, like most people, we used Film Freeway. Give them a little plug there. And God, it went on to win about almost 24 awards overall. Myself as a writer and a producer, named producer on it, him as director, the project overall, Lewis, and the guy he is interrogating, his name is Jeff Warren, or oh my God, Jeff Horner. His character's name was Warren. And Patrice, who played the wife, who he also killed. Spoiler alert. Yeah, and let's say the three of them were just amazing to work with, and Lewis and Jeff just gave so much to that performance because 90% of the movie, Jeff is literally tied to a chair. And he stayed that way almost the entire production day. It got to the point where we were genuinely concerned for his health. But he was just so into it. He's like, "Nah, I need it to stay natural, man. Leave me tied up. I'm good." Okay, bro. You know what else we gotta say?
Awesome, awesome. Well, congratulations, you guys won a bunch of awards. That's a
Thanks.
big
Yeah,
deal.
their efforts definitely paid off. Their dedication to their craft is just. Growing up, we all watch movies, but seeing it actually unfold in real time, just how they get into character and how they do their performance is just a treat to be a part of.
Speaking of that, that's my next question. Was that your first screenplay that you wrote that someone picked up and got it on a big screen, or have you
Yeah,
had
it
all
was.
experience? All right, awesome, awesome, nice.
Yeah, that was the first time someone other than myself showed any interest in any of my screenplays. And just again, just sitting there watching all that and getting to be a part of that was just something you'll never forget, your first one. And that it was just such a well done thing. It's just amazing. Not to mention all the people you meet when you do it. Like the whole crew was amazing at what they do. It's so many stories from just 3 days worth of filming is just so cool. Like you starting to realize like when people go up to like at the Oscars or whatever and they start stumbling over who to thank, but if you finally get it.
That's awesome. All right, Nathaniel. So now let's talk about this next project. This next one is called Tears of a Death Maiden. How did that concept come about, and then how was the experience on that project?
That project came about when I was watching the animated movie Anastasia with my daughter. And for those that don't know, Anastasia, for the longest time, was supposed to be the lone surviving Romanov from the assassinations after World War I that brought about Lenin and the Bolshevik communists into power in Russia at the time. It was later proven that she died with the family, but the legend was born, as it were. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, what if Anastasia did survive and then went on this epic journey across this huge empire to claim the throne back from the Bolsheviks? Because that plays right into the Russian Civil War of the 1920s, where that sort of thing did happen, except we all know that the communists ended up winning that. It's called the Reds versus the Whites, and I was going to stick with that motif in the screenplay. And it's being the writer, you can make your world do whatever you want it to do. That's the fun part. As you're probably well aware, that's the fun thing. I can make these characters do whatever I want them to do. And that turned into a TV series idea, kind of like in production wise, in the same vein as like Game of Thrones meets The Witcher meets real history. There's going to be so much supernatural stuff going on. I can't explain it to you in this type of conversation. But that actually got picked up by representation. Just unfortunately, when Putin decided to invade Ukraine, that kind of put the brakes on that whole project. Because suddenly Russia wasn't cool anymore to talk about.
Got you. And you did mention where you can have the characters do whatever you want. And for the listeners out there, I want to throw in I want to double down on that right there. So when you're writing a screenplay and you have characters, sometimes just let your script sit, let your characters talk to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, sometimes your characters can tell you what they want to do. They can guide you to help you figure out what's next for them, right? Because they all have their own first.
Oh, absolutely. Half the time when you're sitting there spending your day writing, it just kind of goes off on its own direction sometimes. Because it just starts to feel right. You get into that flow, and it's like, well, maybe that's not what this person would do in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you try to force it, it's going to feel forced.
Yep.
Whether an actor reads this or an agent or a producer or whoever, they're going to realize that and be like, you steered this whole thing this direction. You didn't let the characters breathe. Like, let them breathe their own life into their own existence.
Exactly. Glad you mentioned that. All right, so now let's talk about this next project, Downing the Anchors. How was the experience on that one?
That was fun. That was a documentary I made for MTSU. It was for my documentary film class that we were doing.
Real quick, anyone who's not aware, can you enlighten us? MTSU,
Middle Tennessee State University. My bad.
all right, awesome. All right, keep going.
Yeah, right there in the geographic center of the state of Tennessee, in Murfreesboro. In fact, my apartment was literally across the street from the little monolith that marks that specific spot. Kind of a cool little tidbit there.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was a documentary film class. The teacher told us to take a concept, pick an idea, and that's going to be your documentary. She presented it like as if she was a producer. She's like, okay, pitch me your idea and I'll either greenlight it or not. So I did. My whole thing was women in sports. She's like, okay, that sounds like a very broad topic, but can you make it work? I was like, yeah, I can make it work, because I just happened to also have a friend of mine in my history class at the time who was the backup goalie for the soccer team. And she and I would just get to chatting, because I'm a big sports guy like most guys are. But unlike most sports guys, I can watch just about any sport. In fact, a friend of mine, I sat down and watched a game of cricket not that long ago. Learned a lot doing that. But yeah, and I just got to following the soccer team around because that's just whose season it happened to be. Just those things just kept lining up that way. And I went back the next couple weeks later to the teacher and was like, okay, here's my progress so far. She's like, this is way too broad of a topic for one semester. What you should probably do is, if you're going to do sports, focus on one team and use that as like a microcosm of women in sports. I was like, okay, I can do that, because I already had all this footage from the soccer team. But I would follow them around like the first 4 or 5 games because they were all local. Because as you know, in college, I mean, they could be anywhere from Texas to Florida when they play games.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Especially Middle Tennessee State is in Conference USA, where that is an actual thing. They will go from Florida to actually to New Mexico. But it just happened to work out where all their games were local. But what happened was, with the movie, they played Vanderbilt University. And at the time, especially, Vanderbilt women's soccer was coming off of an SEC championship. I mean, women's soccer for Vanderbilt was one of the good sports teams that they have. And for the first time, and so far only time in our school's history, MTSU beat Vanderbilt. So my movie became that story. It's almost like, the movie Miracle,
Yeah.
where the USA hockey takes on Russia, pretty much in that vein and documentary format.
Awesome. Awesome.
And that was just so much fun because what was great was the guy that works, or he used to work in, what do they call it? Crap. Like media relations with the athletic department at the university. He actually got me the release from Vanderbilt, the SEC network, and ESPN to get me the rights to use the actual game broadcast. So I had the video and the audio from that whole game, plus whatever I filmed, and a videographer, the actual team's videographer, who was a friend of mine. So I was able to splice all that together to create this pretty damn good story, in my opinion, but I'm a little biased.
That's amazing. That's
And
amazing.
that the name of the movie is called Downing the Anchors because Vanderbilt's slogan across all their athletic department is "Anchor Down."
Mm, nice. Nice. All right. So we talked about your screenplays, we talked about your short films, but before all that, you did a little bit of poetry. Um, could you share a bit about that experience, going through your writing?
Sure. A lot of my poetry came after my first wife and I divorced, going through a real dark time, and I found really fun company in a group on a website. I don't know if it exists anymore. It was called Monolith Graphics. It's a small, tight-knit community, I guess you'd call it online. I guess you'd call it a band or a small orchestra called Nox Arcana. And for those that don't know, they do a lot of moody, atmospheric type stuff. You'll probably heard their stuff if you've ever been to a haunted house. You've most likely heard at least one of their songs. They've been making music for 25 years. It was spearheaded by a guy named Joseph Fargo, who is also just an amazing artist in every sense of the word himself. I actually, again, tried to get the permission to write a movie based on his book, but that never went anywhere. But yeah, in the forums, there's like this little thread where someone would post a word and you had to write a poem based on that word. It's kind of like a one-uppy type challenge type of a deal. So me and one other dude really got into it. It was almost like a rap battle going back and forth. And that's where a lot of my poems were written right there. Again, that's where I realized I kind of had a knack for it. I just, again, started writing it. I also illustrated the book. It's called A Walk on the Wayside, Embrace the Fall. And it just details a lot of the dark thoughts you have when you're that depressed. But it was also, at the same time, a fun experience to sit down with people I've literally never even seen, but they were just such good people believe it or not, there are good people on the internet. And there was just, like I said, it was a community. They all just kind of came together to help everybody out, no matter what you're going through. It was really cool. And I'll never forget, even though I've never actually met them, I'll never forget those guys. Those guys were cool.
Awesome. All right, Nathaniel, you have any websites or platforms that you're willing to share with us so the listeners can check out some of your work?
Yeah, just go on Facebook, look up Oils by Art House, which is what you kind of see behind me here in the background. That's the name of my painting business that I started after, again, I just started oil painting as a hobby after watching Bob Ross for 40 years of my life. No actual training in painting. I just sat down, started doing it. And now I have this whole collection going on behind me here. And I figured, why not sell it, make a little side gig out of this? So I created Oils by Art House. And the fiance of my old roommate helped me build a website by the same name. It's just on Canva. I think I sent that to you, so you probably have the official one there on your form that you made me fill out.
We'll get that
And
link
also,
for everyone. That
oh, dog just busted in the room. Yeah, it's oil by arthouse dot canva dot my dot site, I believe. And on Facebook and Instagram, it's Oils by Arthouse. Just go ahead and type that in. On Facebook, no spaces. On Instagram, underscores between the words.
awesome. We'll get those links in the description. And for the listeners, I know you can't see the paintings, but they are amazing. You should definitely check out Oils by Our House. Nathaniel, for the paintings that you do have so far, I don't want you to be biased, but do you have a favorite?
Actually, I got a couple of favorites. These purple ones that you see behind me here,
Uh-huh.
those actually turned out pretty damn good, if I can say so myself.
Thanks.
I like doing the monotones, but with different values, so you get different results just by adding a little bit of white or black or whatever to your color palette. It's just a fun exercise to intentionally limit your palette, your variety of colors, to see what you can come up with. Like I painted those with a combined total of 4 different colors,
Oh,
and I got all those different hues out of that.
nice. I love it. I love it. And another question. So like, all right, you got the canvas, you got your paints, you're ready to paint. You already have this. I'm trying to walk you through a process, right? You have your canvas, you have your paints, and you are getting ready to paint. Do you already have this image of what you're going to paint in your head, or does it just flow while you're painting?
A little bit of both. I mean, you have to start off with a couple of good ideas, like what time of day is it? What season are we in? Because I do landscapes, as you can plainly tell behind me. And like, where in the world are we? Like, if I'm going to do something snowy, I'm not going to be in the middle of the Gobi or Sahara Desert, or out in the middle of the ocean. Or if you're going to do mountains, what type of mountains? Are they like the Rockies? Are they the Smokies? So if you're going to do winter scenes, you got to remember there's going to be virtually no leaves on these things. So that automatically limits how the scene is supposed to unfold. But then as you're going through it, the paints will talk to you. Like when you're making a mountain, like it'll tell you, okay, I'm going to be this way because that's what the canvas takes from your palette knife or your brush. And just let it live. Don't try to force it. Just like writing characters, man, we'll go full circle on that. Because these are characters themselves. Every brush stroke either adds to it or creates a new one.
I love that. I love that. All right, Nathaniel, we're at that part of the show where I ask the guest this question. What is a book, a TV show, or a film that you recommend to an aspiring artist?
Oh, man. I always like the old school stuff when it comes to filmmaking. I've always been a fan of Buster Keaton.
Yep.
That dude, I don't think on film anyway, that dude never knew how to smile or give an emotional reaction to almost anything, but you always knew what he was thinking, even though there's no sound at all. And not just his level of performance. Like if you don't know who Buster Keaton is, just look back to that grainy stunt work stuff, the old black and white stuff where it looks like the dude's about to die doing these stunts. That's Buster Keaton. And he coordinated all that stuff. Not only he acted in it, he directed the movies half the time. And because he started off as a vaudeville performer, that dude was, again, another dude of many talents. And I always love the old silent movies because if you can turn off a movie, like nowadays, watch a movie on silent, see if you can still follow along with the story.
Yeah.
If you can, then you can tell that they took lessons from guys like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and all those old school dudes. So anything with Buster Keaton in it, The General was a damn good movie. God, there's so many to pick from. Let's see, as far as TV shows, well, that really comes down to like what genre do you like? Like you like whatever it is you like. I mean, you like everyone likes what they like, and that's fine. So pick something that you actually does inspire you. Like don't try to force it. Don't try to fake it. Like no, you genuinely felt inspired from watching either this director, this particular actor, or even just the actual title that you're watching, and just study it, break it down. Like how does the camera move? Why does the camera move? How is this scene lit and why? You got to ask yourselves these questions as if you want to be a filmmaker, you got to dive into how the process works. Because, I mean, you could write it as a writer, you write out the scene, but it's the director that takes those words and creates the actual vision of what it is you're trying to portray. And if you're going to be a filmmaker, you have to remember that little lens at the front of the camera, that isn't the lens of the camera. That's the eyeballs of your audience. Whatever it sees, they see. And that is just something that I've seen a lot of terrible things where you can tell that they didn't quite think that way. Now, that could be for any number of reasons, because I'm not there on production to figure out why, but you just have to remember that golden rule. That camera lens is the eyes of your audience. And as far as books go, again, that's a tough one because there's so many good ones out there. If you're going to be a writer, say they always, what is that famous one? Don't Kill the Cat or whatever it's called.
Save the cat.
To be honest, say what?
Save the cat.
Yeah, Save the Cat. Yeah, I've never read that one. And I like to write horror, so I kill the cat. And the dog just gave me this really weird look. That was funny.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. And yes, that is true. The camera lens is the eye of the audience. That's what they see. And yeah, you don't want to rush through anything. All right, everyone. That was our episode for today. Thank you again, Nathaniel, the artist of many talents. All right, everyone. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Inside Plug with 2Gs. We're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Remember, stay inspired and keep creating. Inside Plug. Nathaniel, thanks for joining us today. We look forward to seeing more of your work and checking out more of those paintings.
All right. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Inside Plug, signing out.